Welcome back, everybody, to We Talk Film. I am your host, Barry, joined by Clayton, as always. How you going, Clayton?
Hey, Barry. I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing well. Sorry about being late with the podcast this episode because someone decided to have a fun weekend. But we're here.
Look.
We're doing things again.
I missed it by a day. I think all of our loyal fans can put up with one day less of us.
Probably.
Don't worry.
Well, right now, we've been doing this for exactly 1 year. This is our 1 year anniversary of doing this podcast. And I never thought we'd be saying that when we started this.
I didn't think we'd make 3 episodes, to be honest. I thought we'd do it once and then we'd be like, this sucks. Let's never do it again. Yep. But instead of never doing it again, we did it every week since. God.
And we're still
52.
Going. 52 episodes.
Yeah. Soon it'll be 2 years and we'll be like, my God.
My God. And then like we're in a retirement home in 50 years from now being just like, remember
still
when we thought we'd cancel it?
So, have you seen the latest movie on your brain chip, Barry?
I'm just a skeleton at that point.
Yeah, it just cuts to you and it's just a beep. It's just a flat line. It's like, oh, God. All right, Barry. Well, today we're bringing you something very special because we're covering part 2 of Dune, as well as the latest episode of The Bad Batch. So before we head on over to the news, we're throwing the spoiler warning at you. Bing, baba, boom. We're going to spoil everything from movies to books to shows today. So,
that's the new spoiler warning.
Thanks. Thanks, Chewbacca. Yeah.
He's still on.
Everyone, no, sure. Because Barry hasn't replaced the button. That's okay.
Nope.
All right, let's jump on over. There's a couple of news stories today. Let's go to do.
That's good news.
That's some good news. Indeed, it is good news. Because the first thing that I'd like to bring up is a reboot happening next year.
Another reboot?
It's another reboot. And this is one that I did not see coming, like, at all. This is very out of left field because, okay. Naked Gun is a movie franchise that I love. I think they're really funny.
Yep, they are great.
It's being remade with Liam Neeson in the starring role coming out next year.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that. And Liam Neeson of all people.
Yeah, so Liam Neeson's playing the main detective guy, but it's being produced by Seth MacFarlane and Erica Huggins and their production company. That makes sense
now. That makes perfect sense
a lot of
because
sense.
Liam Neeson's appeared in basically every single Seth MacFarlane project. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that does make sense. I don't know if that's a thing that they can reboot and have it be as good. I don't know if it's going to be bad, but I don't know if they can recapture that magic, especially without Leslie Nielsen, who made those movies. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Well, that's the thing is, as well, because it's going to be quite a different scenario because you're going to have Liam Neeson as, like, everyone remembers him from doing, like, action films and stuff like that. Going to do this. So I think it could work out because it's probably going to be quite different from the Leslie Nielsen version of the character and everything like that. And that's the thing. I don't know how much of Seth MacFarlane has influence over the show, but if he's writing it and stuff like that,
I don't know.
I would be looking forward to that if he was like a writer or something for it as well.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see what happens when that comes out in less than a year or just over a year, however time works. All right. Moving over to the next thing is we got a trailer for something that just came out. It's a launch trailer for a new Walking Dead spin-off called The Ones Who Live.
Yes, we're 2 episodes in.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't like The Walking Dead. So I don't care, but I thought I'd bring it up because I know that people do.
I mean,
and apparently it's getting good reception. So.
Yeah. I stopped watching when the guy who played Luke Grimes, like the main character you follow through Walking Dead, when he left, his character like died type thing, but obviously didn't. I've been wanting to go back and watch this one out because everyone says like it's amazing. It's like how Walking Dead was before he left and everything. So the good version of Walking Dead. I'm just like, that's good. Like that's good to hear. So I might, once it's like all out, I'll go back and like binge watch it type thing. But yeah, I am looking forward to actually watching a Walking Dead show again, which I didn't think I would be saying.
No, and considering there's like 12 spin-offs already, I don't know if it's ever something that I will ever get into.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I mean, I really
watched any of the other spin-offs. I didn't watch how the mainline show ended. Just once his character like left, I was like, I'm leaving too.
Oh man. Okay. Now let's move over to something that I'm very much on board for. Superman Legacy. James Gunn has put out a post saying that it's renamed. First of all, it's just called Superman. Yippee! Which is great. I'm like, sure, it doesn't need anything fancy. We know it's a new one. I don't think anyone's going to get it confused from the one from 1978.
Yeah.
So that should be okay. But we also got an official look at the logo that's going to sit on his chest. Yeah, I think it works.
Yeah.
Not quite what I thought. I thought they were going to go really classic, but it seems like it's almost the DC like Rebirth sort of style.
Yeah, they're doing like what's his name? The guy that did like the art style for like all Rebirth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He has like I forget his name. But yeah, he has like a unique style to how he paints his comics and stuff like that and does his art. So like the whole Kingdom Come stuff and everything like that. That's where the logo comes from. So I'm looking forward to seeing if they actually do that storyline now. With all his DC.
No. I don't think if they'll do. I have no idea, but yeah, like the Rebirth sort of art style, I love. I'm very much a fan of all of the DC character designs from that sort of run of the universe. So I like that. There was some leaked quote-unquote behind-the-scenes footage that was very clearly edited, but it might have given us a look about how some stuff may look. I know you sent me the one with the red underwear, and I really hope James Gunn does the red underwear.
I'm hoping so too.
Because that's just great. People complained that they might do that. Some people don't like the idea of the red underwear, but they're idiots.
Yeah, so Well, I mean, that's Superman. Superman is always been with the red underwear and stuff like that, or to me anyway. So even if it doesn't like really fit in today's society or whatever, but it's like the suits from like an alien race or whatever, how they get his suit or whatever. It's meant to be like different and from a different era of person as well. Because like Superman's almost 100 years old at this point. Like the design of it came like 100 years ago. So, you know.
Exactly. The dude has a giant red cape and people are like annoyed whether he's got like a crotch covering. It's like, calm down, dude.
It's
the whole suit.
It looks good.
The whole suit is a little goofy. By quote unquote today's standards. That's the point. He's Superman.
Yeah.
You know, like the suit's not an armor piece. It's fine. Okay. Final news story this week. Not much happened, which I'm very much okay with because that means I have less to report on. But the final one ties into our movie of the week because Dune Part 2 has put out its weekend box office figures. And it's kind of glad we waited till today because we got this number now. It has made 81.5 billion in the US. And 190 not billion million.
I was just like, wait a minute.
It's made a badillion dollars. No, 81.5 million. Yep. Because I tried to read biggest, but I didn't. So it's the biggest US opening weekend of the year. So which considering it was not, we've only just got into the year. That's okay. But the like overall worldwide thing was like 197 million. It was 1 million less than Oppenheimer's opening weekend across the world. So it's doing really well.
Wow, that is insane. They've basically made their entire budget back in one weekend of the entire film.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, what was the film? 200 million budget wise?
Yeah,
190 million. So yeah, it's almost like broken even with the initial budget in the first weekend, and it's going to make triple that easily. I reckon this film's going to be pushing $1 billion in a month.
Is there anything coming out like really big movie over the next couple weeks?
Not really. No, Dune's going to get played a lot over and over. I know some friends of mine have seen it twice already. Very, very interesting.
Oh,
I feel like and because it got pushed back initially.
Yeah, well, it was meant to come out in November of last year.
Yeah, and that would have really hampered it, considering you had like Aquaman and a bunch of other stuff coming out around the same time. But here it's got the slate to itself, so
I know.
I'm sure. Yeah, Mr. Villeneuve is sitting there going, "Ha ha ha! Go watch my movie."
Yes, go see it. It's the best one I've done.
That's great. All right, so that's it for the news.
With the news out of the way, we can get straight into talking about Dune Part 2, which I have a little clip here.
You will never lose me, Paul Atreides. We gave them something to hope for.
That's not hope! May thy knife chip and shatter.
So yes, we are back with Dune Part 2. Obviously, we never covered Dune Part 1 because that came out before we did the podcast.
Yes.
But it's good to see that, yes, we are seeing Part 2. And first reaction to this, it is better than Part 1. Which is, you don't say too much for sequels of a movie. Well, I don't anyway.
Well, that's the thing. I have such a hard time calling this a sequel, considering they're two halves of the same story. This is the second half of the original Dune novel. So I kind of look at it as just a continuation of the first and not a sequel. So I feel like it's on par with that, considering it's just as good, but you need the first part. And you need this together.
You need the first,
These two movies is an amazing watch back to back. You have to go bang one to the other straight away, no pauses. Like that, it's such a cool adaptation of the book in these two amazing movies. So yeah, obviously we saw Dune this weekend. I did not rewatch the first one before seeing this.
Neither
did you?
I. No.
No. Okay. So it has been a while since I saw the original Dune. I say the original Dune. The original remake of Dune.
Yeah, the original remake, not the 1980 something version, the David Lynch version.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man,
we don't need to talk about that one.
Watching that as a kid.
I've only seen bits of it. I don't think I could get through it. Yeah. All right. Okay. So Dune. In case you don't know, it's been a long time since this novel was written. 1965. This predates a shit ton of sci-fi. Yeah. So going into this, especially this part, and considering I knew how the book ended, I was a little concerned with just how the story itself is going to come together.
Okay, because I haven't read any of the books. I don't know anything about the books whatsoever. So have you read the first book anyway, or multiple of the books?
First book I've read most of. But I know what happens across all 6 books, which is an insane thing to talk about later. We can get into what the future of the Dune series has to offer because I'm sure they won't adapt some of it. But anyway,
already planning to do part 3, so we'll see what happens.
Oh god. Okay. So yeah, Dune, this one. It's so good. It rounds off the story so well. I'm just coming straight out of the bat and saying this is the best sci-fi movie I've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in recent, I can't even think of what the last one would be.
The last movie for me, for pure sci-fi wise, where I went to this level, is actually Blade Runner 2049, which is Dennis Villeneuve's apparently his worst film, according to him himself. Yeah. He absolutely hates 2049, but I absolutely love it.
That's so weird.
I've always preferred, and you know this, as 2049 is my number one pick, a film, just the style of it all and everything like that. While I was sitting and watching this in a cinema, which was kind of great because there was barely anyone in the cinema and I could sit wherever I wanted. And I was right down near the front, near the speakers. So I got the full oomph of all the music and stuff like that. It was absolutely great.
Wow.
There were parts in this movie where I'm just I put this almost on par with Blade Runner 2049.
Really?
Almost.
You see, I prefer that Blade Runner over the 2 Dune films.
Oh, but I still do. I still do. But there are moments in this where it's Okay, that's impressive. You got me there.
It's very cool. And I just, because the two movies work so well together, I feel like, you know, like Blade Runner 2049 is an amazing, its own thing, but Dune is just this huge, sprawling...
Yeah.
It's an epic. These two together, and you get this epic movie. Like, I think that they're one movie because they basically are. First one ends on a cliffhanger. This one ends on a cliffhanger too, but we'll also get into that. So why don't you give us the rundown of the events of the film, and we'll just talk our way through it, yeah?
Yeah. So basically, coming off the backbone of the first one, Paul Atreides is obviously what happens in the first one. His family gets assassinated. His dad dies, and him and his mum are the only ones who survives, and all the bad people, I forget their name, think that they're all dead, and they go out in the desert. So many bad people in this.
Yeah.
The bald-headed people. That's the one I'm referring to.
The Harkonnens?
The Harkonnens. That's the thing with this franchise as well. Like, I always struggle to remember the names of like everyone because they're just like, who are they? Like, what are they?
Yeah, I don't know. I remembered some of them. It is very hard, especially because...
And then you got like
there's
the main
lot.
character who's just Paul. And then like all the other characters' names are just like, who are you?
but then it's like, even Paul has like 7 names in this film anyway. It's like he gets called 4 different things. It's
yeah.
It is very hard to keep track of.
It is very hard to keep track of.
Once you get into it, it's amazing.
Oh,
you've just got to really get invested in the film. So yeah, what happens from there, Barry?
So basically, they're out in the desert with the desert people being just like trying to run from the Harkonnens, essentially trying to basically survive in the sand with the Freemen. The Freemen? The Freemen. Fremen. That's it.
Fremen. Yes.
Fremen.
The Fremen. The natives of Arrakis.
Yeah.
Or as they call it, Dune, which is very cool. That was such a cool line.
Oh, yeah.
When he announces that later in the film. But yeah, so here, basically, Paul's out in the desert with his mother, who survived, and she is pregnant with his unborn sister. And the unborn sister is also kind of psychic because she's talking to Paul and the mother through wizard magic, spice magic. It's not quite explained, and that's about on par to what happens in the book as well.
Spice has magic. That's all we know.
Yeah. So oh god, where do we get started? Because this is a lot to get into. Because so the spice on Arrakis is basically the most valuable substance in this entire universe. Everyone fights over it. There's dozens of houses, and all ruled by an emperor that oversees everything and controls who has control of the spice.
It even leaked into Star Wars as well. It's their drug.
Yeah, pretty much. But the spice itself has an effect on whoever spends time in it. If you breathe it, you inhale it, you get it on you, it starts to mess with you. It gives you blue eyes for some reason as well. But it also kind of gives you psychic powers sometimes if you're important. Sometimes.
And by psychic powers, it's only really Paul because he's meant to be the Messiah. He's basically Jesus.
The huge plot of this is that Paul goes out to these people, and basically the Emperor has distilled this prophecy amongst the Fremen to kind of keep them at bay. He's saying, that he's given them the idea that a savior will come and liberate the planet, but they have to be an outsider, and all of this other things have to happen for the prophecy to come true, and then half of the Fremen believe it, and half don't. But that's still really powerful, because when Paul shows up, and he seemingly fits the prophecy, everybody starts, worshipping him. He basically, becomes Space Jesus, and everyone loves him. And also his mother becomes the new psychic lady, the new Bene Gesserit. What's the Reverend Mother of the Fremen? Because all of the races have a Reverend Mother, which is linked to the Bene Gesserit, which is basically council of women that can see the future, the past, and everything, and they're all kind of linked to each other, and they have really unknown motives, and it's never really explained across the books, but they're kind of evil psychic dudes. The Illuminati. But space women, I guess.
The secret society behind plotting everything behind everyone, even the emperor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're the ones pulling the strings, essentially. That's what they're doing. They work on both
pretty
sides.
Much. Yeah. But then it also... Okay, so I'm trying to remember, because there's a lot. This is a huge story. At this point, Paul is also falling in love with Zendaya's character, Chani, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're falling in love. It seems like their relationship's going really well until okay, before we go into the until
before that.
there's a lot of jumping around. Just bear with me, okay? The Fremen themselves have done a bunch of like hit and runs on the Harkonnens that are harvesting the spice on their planet.
Yes.
It's a lot of like, think of the Rebel Alliance and the Empire from Star Wars. They're doing a lot of hit and run tactics, but they're being led by Paul, who's the Messiah. He's in charge.
He now
Everyone's
rides
leading him.
sandworms as well, which is
He learns how to ride a sandworm.
He learns how to ride a sandworm, which is the coolest part of this film.
It was very cool. That shit was amazing. But he also meets a baby sandworm, because we get to see little sandworms too.
Yeah.
Because his mother basically becomes the Reverend Mother, and in order to do that and gain the memories of everything, you have to drink like the gunk inside of a sandworm.
Yeah, the sacred life water.
Life water, and it's basically their blood. It's like bright blue. It looks like Powerade, but when you drink this worm Powerade, you see the future and whatever. And also, men can't drink it; only women can, which is why that only women are the Reverend Mothers.
Yes,
because men can't handle it for some reason. I think it has to do with like the emotional aspect of like countless turmoil across millennia. Yeah. It's a little weird. The movie doesn't quite explain it, and I cannot remember what the book says, but that's not important, because basically Paul's mother decides that, Paul has to drink this too and see literally everything. Yes. So Paul's like, okay, all right. Eventually getting down there, he gets his own worm blood, drinks it, and lives, and he's the only one that's ever survived this procedure as a man, and everybody's really scared and concerned. And now they know for sure that he's the Messiah. He's got thousands of Fremen soldiers with him.
Oh, millions.
But this also changes Paul, because he's immediately not the Paul that he was. He's not spending any time with Zendaya's character. He's very distant, and he knows... Well, he can see the future, so he knows exactly what's going to happen forever, pretty much. So he's just become this very closed off and determined person. And this was honestly like the best part of the film for me, because it really did the switch. It felt a lot like what Revenge of the Sith did with Anakin.
Exactly. I was about to say that. As soon as I was watching those scenes and stuff like this, I was like, they're basically doing Revenge of the Sith. Like, even just the way Timothée Chalamet looked in those scenes and stuff like that was like the same. He was really acting the same way Anakin did in the Revenge of the Sith and everything like that. I'm just like, are we just like redoing Star Wars here?
I mean, kind of. But I kind of love that, because Star Wars took a lot of inspiration from Dune and obviously this story. But obviously the prequels didn't come out for 30 years until like after. So I'm not quite sure how much of that like was emulated by George Lucas, but this book itself did that first. And the fact that this kind of parallels that is a cool little full circle art moment.
Oh yeah.
But this was really good. It did it almost better than the Anakin turn at some points. But yeah, it was amazing. And it also kind of just did make Paul the Messiah, because now he's almost like a godlike being in every sense of the way. Yep. So yeah, the Fremen are like, hey man, what do we do now? And so Paul's like, well, now we have to attack the entire like enemy base.
Yep.
Where everyone is, including the Emperor, who's come to show up.
Yes.
And a bunch more bad guys. Austin Butler's there too. He's a Harkonnen.
Can we talk about Austin Butler's character and his whole thing?
Yes.
Before we get into the end of this film. So basically,
his uncle.
Yeah, we are introduced to the Harkonnens' home world. At one point, where there's this massive gladiator pit, and it's Ford Ruther, who is Austin Butler's character. His like introduction. It's also his birthday as well, right. And it's a big coliseum where they're like putting on a battle, and he's putting on a show for him where he gets to kill people or the last other Atreides family members and stuff like that. Apparently, these were the last 3 Atreides members to die, and he was going to execute them. But that whole sequence was some of the coolest visual effects stuff I have ever seen in a film. So basically,
so cool.
For people that haven't seen this film or haven't seen any clips of it, you have obviously scenes where they're like underneath stuff looking like normal skin colored. Obviously, all the males are bald and everything like that. But when they go out into the sunlight, everything is black and white. Like the sun is a pure white light and turns everyone white. And it is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
It was very cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And I'm betting that that's not in the book at all, because I don't remember any of that being described. So yeah. That's a Villeneuve touch.
Very much, yeah. Or his cinematographer, probably, I would have done that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a collaboration between the two, because that's such a
'Cause he's
cool
done a
stylistic
lot.
idea.
Greg Fraser.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Which he's done.
He's done heaps.
Basically anything that's been good for the past decade, it's because of him.
Yeah. He is an amazing cinematographer, and he shines because this movie is like 2 hours 40, and every single shot looks amazing. There's these massive wide shots, these huge expansive looks at some of the coolest looking sci-fi stuff we've ever seen. And it just is all so stunningly beautiful. You could watch this movie purely for the visual element and enjoy it.
Yes.
And then same for the sound, because the sound design was equally
Good old
amazing.
Hans Zimmer coming in for the clutch again.
Oh, he knows how to put music and build tension and hit you with the wahs and the booms and just everything. It's great.
I still regularly listen to the soundtrack of Blade Runner 2049 because he did such a tremendous job for it.
Yeah, he's done good for anything. I don't think he's done a bad movie. Dude kills it. So yeah. Okay, so Planet of the Black and Whites. That's cool. It introduces us to Austin Butler. He's a complete psycho in this. It might be my favorite thing he's done, considering I don't really like much else that he's done.
This is honestly my favorite performance from him so far. But that's the thing. At the end of the day, it wasn't much, if I'm being honest, in this film. That was kind of one of the downfalls in this film, where it wasn't enough of his character in a way.
Yeah.
He wasn't there a lot. And I'm not sure, obviously, how much he is in the books or anything like that either. But it's just he was meant to be the next Baron guy to take over Arrakis and everything like that.
I think it was about the same.
Okay. And then he's just only there for 2 scenes. He gets his own major one when they first introduce him, and then he's there at the end with the Emperor and so much stuff going on.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure. I'm flicking through it right now. I've got the book here as a reference. I can't see much of a mention, and it's so long since I read what I've read of it, but yeah. Wacky. But I feel like his character served its purpose. I didn't think it needed more. And that would cut down on Paul's story, but then again, it was already a really long movie.
Oh yeah, there was so much in this, and I feel as well they actually cut moments out, because there are a couple scenes I did notice where I'm just it felt like it was too short. A few of the scenes later on in the movie where things were heating up and you got all the Emperor and we're cutting back and forth between what the Emperor was doing and then all that stuff. I felt a few of those scenes, it actually felt like they cut it just to bring it down on time.
Possibly. I'm sure that might have something, because things get cut out of every film.
Yeah.
But I think it worked fine. I think the length that they had was great. I think the pacing throughout was really well done. There wasn't a moment that really slowed down. I mean, considering this is the middle part to the ending, the start is going to feel slow by typical movie standards. But it's I can't separate it from the first movie that it felt pacing-wise amazing.
Yes.
I constantly
the pacing, from what I remember, the first one, anyway, the pacing of this one and how it was edited was better than the first one, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I prefer
I have to rewatch them
a lot
back to back.
Than the first one.
Yeah, I mean, but it was very good. Anyway, so basically, Austin Butler comes to Dune as well with the Emperor and everybody else.
Everybody's there.
Paul decides, literally everyone decides that it's time to attack. Pretty much all of the bad guys in one place, because they've come to invade, and Paul's like, no, I'm gonna just go get them. So he gets a bunch of sandworms, and this is the coolest segment. This is the huge battle at the end, by the way. Half a dozen giant sandworms crash into thousands of army soldiers below, and there's big dust storms and people
They use
going flying in.
nuke to blow up a sand wall, so the storm comes in and they can all go
Yeah.
charging at him. That was cool.
It's so crazy.
It's this massive battle sequence as well. Like
It was
on
insane.
par with this, I would say for me, that battle sequence is something like reminiscent of what I remember the Lord of the Rings battle sequences were and everything.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I put that on par with that type of level of how well it was
100%.
shot. I was just like,
And this looked
wow.
just as good. This looks so good. There was not a terrible moment of CGI in this film. This film was peak like digital effects because nothing took me out of it. Nothing looked off. Everything worked. The lighting on everything looked amazing. The worms themselves looked great.
Yeah.
The big armies like worked. Even it was a little unrealistic to just have them, but that works because that's how the Dune universe is. Just have thousands of soldiers to throw at each other because that's just what it does. None of these people matter. It's all for the greater good, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, big battle leads to a confrontation in the throne room in which Paul shows up, kills the big dude. What's it? The Baron.
Kills Baron Harkonnen.
Yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård.
He was such a cool villain.
That was such like a funny moment though, because everyone thinks that the Atreides are all dead still, even during this battle.
Right.
Obviously, there's murmurs that it could be he still could be alive. But when he first goes into the room the first time, he covers his face up, so actually no one knows who he is, and they all think he's a Freeman.
Fremen, yeah.
Fremen. And he just goes in for the kill on Baron. Because the Baron's already weak at this point because the Emperor attacked him. It's a whole thing because like he was doing like dirty back deals with him and trying to blackmail him.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. And then he's like, I'm going to kill them. And then he's also like, we find out during the course of this film that he's also half Harkonnen as well.
Yeah. So, Paul's actually his grandson because his mother is the daughter of the Baron. What?
Yeah. Oh my God. That's a whole thing. Oh my
God. That doesn't matter too much, especially in the overarching story. Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of just a realization for Paul that he's not quite 100% Atreides, and it's a little bit of a loosening from that attachment in the overall story, but there isn't really much other than that. So yeah, he kills the Baron. Dave Bautista gets killed by Josh Brolin too.
Yep.
In a big fight outside. That was really cool.
Well, that was a big fight, but then the actual battle sequence between them, Dave Bautista just got wrecked. Like it was literally it was a 5-second sequence.
He gets his ass kicked throughout this entire movie. Dave Bautista it's just so funny because in this movie he just gets his ass kicked and he's a coward and it's great. Yeah,
in the first one, he's like the big villain and everything like that, which was quite surprising.
Yeah. Well, it just shows how much the Fremen can like do. It shows how strong the Fremen really are compared to who the big bad guys were of the first film. It's very much like a reverse Empire Strikes Back with the Dune movies, I guess.
Yes.
Sort of thing. Which is very cool. I love the story. So yeah, basically that leads to the Emperor being held captive by Paul and a bunch of guys and Paul decides he wants to be the new Emperor.
Yep.
He's like, you know what? I'm going to be the new Emperor. I'm going to marry your daughter. Sorry, Chani, but I'm marrying Florence Pugh now, and he has to fight Austin Butler in a duel to the death for the title of So they fight. It's a really cool fight sequence.
Yeah. Paul nearly dies. He gets like stabbed
Paul nearly dies.
Times.
He gets stabbed a whole bunch, but he wins because he knows he's gonna win. He can see the future. So there's that. They threaten to nuke all of the spice fields because every other house in this universe shows up in their big ships floating above the planet. A whole armada is there to deal with the Fremen. But Paul's like, you know what? No, I'm Emperor now. I'm going to nuke everything. But the armada's like, no, we're just going to invade you anyway. So that's where this one ends off on a cliffhanger of, oh shit, now the rest of the universe is going to come kick their ass.
Yes. Yeah, and the Holy War or whatever begins now.
Yeah, it's going to start the Holy War.
That was the whole thing, like because Paul was having visions and stuff like that already at the beginning of the film, where he sees all these dead people if he went south. So for the longest time, he didn't want to go south, And then he goes south, and then he has the water, and then he sees the dreams, and he finally realizes, oh, this is the way type thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, he knows that it's inevitable, and it's the only way for the great. And that's it. It gets explained in like later in the novels, especially in like novel 4, 5, and 6, which is where thing gets really wacky and just really fucking weird. So okay, so that's pretty much it for the story of Dune. I don't know if you want to get into what's happening next, because what do you think?
Let's get into ratings, final thoughts and ratings,
Okay,
and then we'll get into
let's do that.
future stuff. Okay, so yes,
sure.
I like this film. I preferred it more than the original. Still though, there were a couple elements in it, and this is the thing with a lot of films and stuff like that. I like films these days, well, for me personally, where they tell their own story and they wrap it up in a complete little bow in one film. Like, I prefer those films a lot more than these multi-saga ones and everything like that. But still, this was absolutely phenomenal. I'm sure probably what I will do when this comes out on digital, I will probably watch the first one and then go watch this one, like, and see how much better that is of an experience type thing. But obviously, again, at the end of this was another cliffhanger. It leads on to other stuff, which is just like, no type thing. I really wanted this to wrap up in a little neat bow and stuff like that, even though it was only part 2 to it all. And I did hear that they were doing part 3 and stuff like that. But I wanted this to be like a nice neat bow, and then like it could have gone off to do something else. But I'm going to give this movie still, just because of the visual effects. This is probably my favorite Timothée Chalamet film. I'd agree. Time, didn't really like him as an actor, but after watching this film, I'm just like, yeah, I see it now. I see it, Hollywood. Like, I like the guy now. And then same thing with a lot of the like characters in this film, just absolutely in the A game, and it was great to see. So I'm gonna give this movie a 9.5.
Oh shit! Okay, 9.5. That's wacky. This film on its own, no, it doesn't work. This film paired with the first one, is an amazing masterpiece. And the whole saga thing, I agree. I do prefer films to be their own little thing, start to finish, cover to cover sort of thing. But that doesn't really work with Dune. The book itself leads on to the sequel.
There's so much.
Dune Messiah, and this book wouldn't have worked as one movie. We know that because there's one in the 80s that tried. So I'm glad this is a two-parter. I think that paired together, it's really well. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Gonna have to again wait 5 years for the next one to come out.
Oh god, it's going to be crazy. Okay, so 9 out of 10 from me, 9.5 from you. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be even better on a rewatch as well. Same with the first one, because there is so much to get into. I mean, the book itself has like a 15-page glossary of just terms that you need to know before going into it. So, like, I knew that this was going to be a hard watch, and I love it. It's very hard sci-fi. You do have to spend some time in the world to truly get it, but the more stuff that comes out for it, obviously, the more movies, the more sequels we get. I feel like these are going to get even better, and people are going to like them even more, especially when it gets even weirder and harder to understand, even as soon as the next one. Because let's talk
about it. So what's like coming up? What's in the books and everything like that? Full spoiler territory here, by the way, for the books and everything like that, and where they could take the story.
Okay, so the next one reportedly is going to be a combination of the second and third book in terms of Dune Messiah and Children of Dune. So basically, the next one is him challenging everyone for the throne. There's not much else. So he fights the Armada. There's some weird shit with that. We get a bunch more houses, and we spend a lot of time with that. There's a lot more stuff with the Bene Gesserit, a lot more psychic shit. I think his sister's born in the next one, and that becomes a whole thing. And also, if they combine it with the next one, he's going to have kids, and those kids are also really psychic, and one of them's also kind of like God. It's been a long time since I've looked into the story. But it gets weird. It gets really weird. Leading up, so after that one though, is if they continue it, it's going to be some of the weirdest shit we've ever seen on film because there's thousands of years time skip after that moment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and then it basically follows like Paul's great Grazillion great grandson, who is basically God and can basically do whatever he wants. He's also part sandworm and slowly mutates into a giant worm-looking dude.
Oh,
and there's also a race of like space dominatrix women that show up as well. That's a big part of the fourth book. And there's also there's a billion more other things that show up and just start messing with Paul and the Atreides, but he can see the future, so he basically deals with everything, causes the deaths of millions, and kind of ignores it because it's all leading up to the sixth book, where his great Bazillion grandson, who's a giant space worm dude, is basically killing everyone and ruling so poorly that humanity will eventually rise up within the next couple million years and evolve into like a world peace sort of thing because he's ruling over everyone terribly. Literally everyone's being starved. Jason Momoa will come back in that one as thousands of clones of himself that keep getting killed over and over again because he wants to kill Jason Momoa's character over and over again.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, so basically giant space worm dude just kind of kills humanity for a millennium in order for them to become better versions of themselves. It's fucking stupid and weird.
Yeah.
And I have no idea if we will ever get there in the Dune series.
Yeah, that would be interesting if they do.
It's very funny. I'll send you a...
Yeah,
Can I show you a picture of what he looks like?
Much. Because what I've been hearing as well, I don't know what the cause of it is, but a lot of people that have read the book for Dune don't actually like part 2 because there is something that is changed dramatically in part 2 from the book. And I don't know what it is, but all these people online and Twitter and stuff like that are all fighting against being like, oh, it's crap because they changed this from the book.
Can you find out what that is?
I'm trying to.
Didn't is only traded to. Oh, there mentions. Hang on. Paul's sister was born in the first one. Hang on. So that doesn't happen, right? Okay, hang on. We're doing some research now.
Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy's character, which is just a baby, but an unborn baby, whereas in the book...
And the timeline is... apparently the timeline of things have been like reordered compared to the book. Characters are missing as well.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to reread the book.
This is like a whole thing.
That's the worm guy from God Emperor of Doom. That's him. So,
oh man,
I hope they do that.
That would be funny to see.
It would be very fun. That's pretty much it for Dune. I don't want to get in too much, considering that's about all I know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because I know they made like early 2000s. There is like a show called The Children of Dune. With,
so that's
James McAvoy.
The third book. They adapted just the third book, I think.
Yeah.
Because they also did Dune Messiah, and I think they did both those two as its own thing.
Yeah, because you also got a TV show coming out next year or something, or even later this year, of our current Dune timeline. Okay. Bene Gesserit.
Oh, right. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's a whole thing that's coming up. Dune Prophecy.
Dune Prophecy. Is that based off something, or is that like an original idea? Because I'm not sure. I don't know. That's very wacky.
Yeah. 2024. Yeah, Dune Prophecy. It is. Dune Prophecy is an upcoming American science fiction television series based on the Dune created by Frank Herbert. This series based on the novel Sisterhood of Dune.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's one of the later ones, I think.
A plot storyline centers around the Bene Gesserit. No, just
haven't read
the lives of the Bene Gesserit. It actually has Emily Watson is in it. Travis Fimmel from Vikings,
Oh,
Australian actor.
okay.
He's in it.
Yeah.
Mark Strong is in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
So
I
that's
have not read.
apparently
I don't know
coming
anything
out
about that book. So
this year. There's going to be 6 episodes according to IMDb.
Okay. That's cool. Well, I think that brings us to the end of Dune.
Yeah.
Should
So
we
then in 5
zip on
years
over?
from now, we'll come back and we'll
We'll
talk
get the next
about
one.
part 3.
Oh God, yeah. If all right, what else are we doing today, Barry?
So
What's the last
today
thing?
we're doing Bad Batch again. I need to get a Bad
Yay.
Batch button because I can't keep using the same clip again unless I get a clip from like each episode because they do little preview clips. So here's R2 screaming. There we go.
Yeah, that's pretty on brand.
Batch.
All right,
That's pretty on brand.
Ooh, Barry, give us the rundown about what happened in this week's episode.
Okay, so stranded in a dangerous territory, Omega and Crosshair must work together to find the Bad Batch. Well, restore the Bad Batch is essentially what happens in this episode.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much.
It starts off with them basically crash landing on a planet.
Yes.
Crosshair and Omega have to kind of navigate sort of a scummy Imperial controlled world in order to raise up some money to get transport off to where the Bad Batch are, I think.
Yeah, well, basically, because the radio on the ship from the last episode is badly damaged, so they can't transmit anything to get the get Hunter and Wrecker on the line. So they're just like, oh, we're gonna have to find some other way. They obviously crash, they survive and everything like that, and they go into this little town, full of scummy people, and they do an outfit change as well. Because like
that's right.
Omega's just like, I know how to do this, and she's like, I know how to make money, and then they try to go to the travel lodge to like get a transport out of there type thing, and then that person's like, no, you must pay us 30,000 units, and she's like, what? So they obviously need to find money. So then she gets into gambling, and there's kids doing gambling in Star Wars now,
and she's really good at it.
And she's really good at it.
Wins everyone's money, and then comes to face with an Imperial officer.
Yeah,
and this is like one of the first times we're seeing like the classic sort of Imperial officer look. We are very close to stormtroopers. It's very much becoming the Empire. What's left of the Republic is pretty much out of here, especially on the worlds like this. And there's this fat little scumbag of an officer. Who gambles with her, loses all of his money, like shakes her hand, and then arrests her and asks her to pay a fine because gambling's illegal.
Yep.
I thought that was so funny.
And then
but
also takes her dog as well with him.
That's
and
right.
They need to go and rescue him, and then it's a whole thing, and then there's a big shootout, and then they reach and leave, and
I forgot about the dog.
She's got a pet dog now. Omega's got a pet dog now. She needs someone to comfort her during the hard times that are yet to come in this show. Because I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. People are gonna start dying off like flies soon enough.
We know.
But before we get to the end of it all, I want to go back to that little casino scene, or when she's like getting all the money and stuff like that. I have a bit of a theory. I think a lot of people are saying this online theory as well, that we have already started to see the use of her force powers.
Oh, through gambling. You think she knows?
It's the reason why she won. Because she knows what they have.
She can sense the cards.
Yeah.
You might be right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
She's very good at it. She knew what to do.
Yeah, she just keeps doing like winning, and especially against that other guy, the Imperial officer as well. Wait a minute. Like it's all leading up now. It's all leading together.
That makes sense. Again, I'm still not sure if I want her to be force sensitive.
I don't want her to be force sensitive or anything like that. Yeah. But it's just like, I think they are pushing for that, which is like a whole thing now. It's just like, this is what we have to do.
Okay.
This is why I'm so excited for when Andor comes out again, season 2 of Andor, is because it's like no force sensitive people. It's just people being people and surviving.
No, exactly. I don't know. Maybe they'll kill off Omega and do what we want, like kill her off.
It's like, yes,
at the end,
the child.
I would love that. Because that would make Palpatine more evil. If, like, in order for him to come back, Omega has to die, sort of thing. I need that. It won't happen. No. But I want that to happen.
Then, obviously, yes, she gets all her money, loses all the Imperial Guard. Then they get caught out being like, you were the people that crashed, and now the Imperial Army is coming here to get you. And then there's a big battle sequence at the end where they let all the animals loose in the park and everything like that. They get her dog back. Crosshair is getting his skills back. I will admit, like he's slowly getting there now. He's just like, all right, I know how to kill people. That's right. And he just takes down an entire squad again. Man, like he is so OP. It's gonna be great once we have all three of them together.
Back into it.
Gets back into it, so and then it's gonna be like so good. Obviously, yes, they leave, they escape, and then they meet up, and it's such a humble reunion of Omega and Wrecker, and then Hunter as well. And then the cliffhanger of the ending is that they see Crosshair standing there, and then it cuts.
Yeah. Ooh. Next episode is going to hit hard. Especially with the Crosshair renewal. It's going to be insane just to see what exactly happens between them. And then also where they go from there, because they got Omega. That was their season objective. So it seems like the enemy is going to be coming after them.
Yeah.
Whereas the other way around, I don't know. I still don't know where this season's going to go.
No, well, I didn't expect Omega and Crosshair to find Hunter like that quick. I thought there would be something. I thought it like at least a couple episodes of them having their own adventures type thing of those two together.
More filler ones.
Yeah. But no, it was just like straight up like, all right, Hunter and Wrecker are here.
Okay.
Everyone's back together. I'm just like, okay, I like it. At least like that means there's no filler, and at least it leaves more room to work with more important things.
I'm very glad that they brought them together this early, because if you look at like The Force Awakens and how that didn't bring anyone back together before it started killing people off, it felt a little bit like dishonest towards what the characters are.
Yes.
Whereas here, this allows them to have scenes where they get to actually breathe and talk together.
Yep.
Before everybody dies. So I'm glad that we threw them back together, because we get these really nice interactions before everyone dies. At least I hope we do. I don't know.
And then obviously that will lead over to next week's episode, where obviously the big thing will be now, what is Crosshair and all that going to do? Because I feel like it's going to be very much a thing of Hunter and Wrecker probably don't want him there. They just like leave type thing, but since
I don't
Omega
know.
like saved him and stuff like that, she's gonna be like, no, he's staying. He like helped me type thing. Like we need to stay together as a family type thing, because that's Omega's thing. So
I feel like they're gonna forgive him because it really he was basically just following on, especially because Tech died. I feel like they want to have all their brothers back together.
Yep.
And I don't know what's going to happen. We also haven't seen Ventress this season. We haven't seen Rex and Echo and that. So there is still a lot to happen just from the trailers.
Still got how many episodes still? Like 15 episodes?
Like 12, 13, something. Quite a fair bit.
Because how
much? It was 16, right? So 12 more.
15 episodes a season. Not 16. 15.
Okay. So 11 more. Oh.
Okay. Oh, and also the names have also come up on IMDb of the names. So apparently, next episode is called The Return.
Okay, well that makes sense.
That makes sense. Episode 6 is called Infiltration.
Okay,
episode 7
stealth mission
is Extraction.
That's the ending of the stealth mission.
And then Bad Territory.
That's probably Ventress.
Yep. Then Harbinger.
Something like that. Probably Ventress continued.
Yep. Identity Crisis.
Oh, might have something clone related.
Yeah.
I think.
Point of No Return. Someone's going to die
dying.
in that episode.
Yeah.
Juggernaut.
Wrecker's dying.
Wrecker's going to die. He's going to be on the Juggernaut, bitch.
The Juggernaut, baby. Yeah.
And then Into the Breach.
Okay, that's the ending.
Yep. Then Flash Strike, and then the Cavalry has arrived, which is the final episode.
That's Rex and that showing up at the ending to save whoever is left.
Well, that's the thing. Probably since they're doing only 15 episodes this season instead of 16, I think the final episode is going to be like an hour long. I reckon.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Because they haven't put times or anything like that, but I'm just like,
that's true.
I was like, it's only 15, not 16. I'm just like, they're probably like saving something, because since it's going to be the season finale, and I'm pretty sure Clone Wars did this as well for their season finale of Death and Victory.
It was longer,
It was like a long ass episode. So they're probably doing the same thing again.
Yeah, and so was the opening. Like Bad Batch episode 1 was an hour long.
Yeah.
So it very much could an hour and then an hour bookending. I'd be very much okay with that. But
oh yeah.
Everyone's dying, so yeah, cool.
Everyone is going to die by the end of this show.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
All right, well, I guess that brings us to the end of another episode of the show.
That's another episode of the show. That's we talk film. That's we do things.
We'll see you guys next week with whatever we're doing next week.
Obviously, we will be Bad Batch, episode 5. But we'll see you all then. Thanks for coming to check us out. Well, the social medias. Sorry about being a day late. We'll make sure to, rectify that issue. Hopefully next time. Probably won't. But we'll see you
Probably won't. See you guys.
Thanks for coming around for 52 episodes.
Oh boy, 52 of these fucking things. Jesus Christ.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
You were too old at the start. And that's our ending line. There we go.
Yeah.